My name is Pastor Sammy from Nakuru, Kenya, and it's so exciting to be able to share with you part of my testimony, what I've been through, what I am today, and my vision tomorrow. God has been so gracious to me, having taken me from a humble beginning to what I am today. Basically, I was born in a normal family, the last born out of 8 kids, 4 boys, 4 girls, and down the line we had a normal family, normal life, until when I was 9 months old, when my dad and my mom thought we lived together enough, so they called out, they decided it's time to part company. Dad walks out of the family, mom is left with all the 8 kids to look after. Mom gets the 8 kids, moves out to this council estate where she can afford a house which is about 12 by 12, literally, where the bedroom is the sitting room is the kitchen is the dining, everything is in one room. Apparently she also kept some animals in the same room. We had some goats and some chickens. The chickens were good. The cocks would crow in the morning, serve as an alarm clock for us to wake up, and life continued. Now, within the council estate, about 90 to 95% of the families were single mothers, and kind of they replicated their lifestyles because they did almost the same kind of business, whereby they were indulging in illicit businesses, doing drugs, brewing alcohol, which is illegal, and they did this mostly in the middle of the night. And the best way that these parents knew was the best way to bring up their family is to make sure that there's food on the table, which they did without fail. And it's quite funny because most of us grew up knowing freedom. Our own brothers grew up the same way, and because it's no daddy at home to bring discipline, then everyone gets to a particular age and they want to go out on adventure. So within our estates, our role models were our brothers who had turned into thuggery, our own sisters who were turned into prostitutions, people that are doing drugs, and kind of almost everyone was involved in a particular or a given gang. I grew up myself. I was 9 years old. I decided I also want my freedom. I developed my wings, left home, and I was on the streets. Had my own gang, and life was interesting. From day one on the street, get orientated into the street life, and street families are impressive because they really embrace you when you're coming in. They take care of you. They make sure that you belong, you're provided for, and then you have to pay heavily later on. But for me, because I had my own brother who was senior, I was kind of really looked after properly. But then I grew up to develop my own gang, and the lifestyle was fantastic, and both tricky and challenging. We'll spend our nights under a bonfire that's made out of worn-out car tires. The soot of it gets on you. You black, but you end up being blacker twice. The soot of that. Then you're in tattered clothes, ragged. No one would want to associate themselves with you. We did what we had to do to survive on the streets like any other kid. We're involved in drugs. We scavenged in bins to survive, make sure that there is food. And if we had to steal, we had to do it, make sure that life continues. We did that for a number of years. Living on the streets, I survived for up to almost 4 years and a half. Remember growing up to about when I was approaching 13, and that was quite a unique day that I'll never forget in my life because it shaped my life. We had learned of a quicker way of getting money because we were in drugs. Sometimes you really need you need to get it real fast. And in this particular occasion, it was quite interesting. I woke up early in the afternoon Waking up in the afternoon, it was quite interesting. I wake up, go through my pockets, I've got no money. The boys had ransacked my pockets. I woke up earlier than myself, and I was with nothing. I had my hangovers, and I thought, how do I kill my hangovers? And I decided, well, the cheapest way, the best way possible, walk down to the main street. Now, in Nakuru town where I was brought up, is a second most famous destination with tourists. It's really liked after Masai Mara, and where I was brought up is towards Lake Nakuru National Park, and we'll go stand by the highway towards the national park, look at the tourists passing, stretch your hand to them, ask them for a shilling. I remember stretching my hand to one of these tourists that particular afternoon, asked him for a shilling, and he was quite unique, because normally most of them would toss you the shilling because of the way you looked. No one wanted to associate themselves with you, but sometimes they'll try as much as they can to avoid you, which was understood because of the fears in people's lives. But when I saw this particular tourist this particular day, I stretched my hand to him, asked him for a shilling. He was quite unique. He did not toss the shilling to me. Instead, he walked towards me. He took me by the hand and he asked me a question. Why are you not in school? My answer was simple. Money. He did not give me the money. Instead, he went on to ask me a second question. If I took you to school and paid the money, would you be willing to get education? My answer was yes. But behind my head, I did not want anything to do with education. All I wanted was my shilling, because I really wanted to get the fix for the day. Apparently, this guy was unique. He believed and he meant every word that was proceeding out of his lips. When I said yes, that's what he believed in, and that's what he acted on. He came to me, took me by the hand, walked with me to the nearest school, chatted with the proprietors of the school. Basically, they accepted me in the school. He walked with me to the nearest shopping center. He bought me a brand new pair of shoes. I never worn a pair of shoes in my life. I was approaching 13. He bought me a brand new school uniform, books, bag. Took me to a barber shop. I washed, had a shave, and I looked completely new, brand new individual. And then walked with me back to the school, paid all the money that was necessary to cover for my primary level, and he disappeared just one afternoon. That gentleman changed my life. His name was Albert, from England. I talked to him. I talked to people about him, and people say maybe he was an angel. I tell them no, he wasn't. He was just a human, a tourist, born in England. But the difference is, to me, he did what angels are meant to do. He ministered unto me, and angels are ministering spirits. So this guy is my angel in one way or another. Besides that, he's my hero. I've never heard from him again. I even don't know his second name. I only know him by one name, Albert. But what he did to me that day completely transformed my life, gave me my destiny, gave me back my life, and it shaped me. Today, I'm doing what I'm doing as a result of what this gentleman did to me. Now, this gentleman, when I met him and when he did what he did to me, for the very first time I felt loved in my life. Growing up, my mom always believed in me. She knew one day my son would grow up and buy a car. And my mom would always tell me, son, I want you to do me a favor. Once you get that car, get your daddy, run over him. And I believe in that. That was what I was living for. But the problem is, I had never seen my daddy. I didn't know where he was. So, growing up, meeting this man Albert, having him minister unto me, I felt loved. I felt loved for the very first time, and that's what drove me to becoming a Christian, because I always tell people I was never preached to, I was loved in. Something that happened is that once this man left, I went back home. I was still doing a bit of drugs as a student, One day, one afternoon, I'm coming up from the hill doing my tracks, and I meet this bunch of people that are singing lovely songs, and I just think, I want to go there. I walk to that place, but this is what happened. Just being there, the thing that I felt when Albert came to me, took me by the hand, walked with me, that was the same feeling that came back to me, and I just thought, this is it. I want it. There was a preacher after the music, but I never had a word from the preacher. All I felt was this love, was this warmth, this feeling that I got when I was with Albert. It was present in the midst of those guys, and I said, I'm going for it. And when they made the altar call, my hand was up. I didn't know what else, but all I wanted was what I felt, that feeling. And I got it then and then. I realized that it was Jesus. He changed my life, got into a relationship with him, and today I'm doing stuff out of that. Today God has blessed me, gotten me to a point where I'm running an orphanage. I have rehabilitated kids from the street. I'm creating employment for the people. I'm also I run a church. I'm a pastor. I've got training that I'm giving to kids after rehabilitation, creating employment for these guys. I see all this happening, and I just look back and tell God, thank you, because it's all God's doing. By all means, there's no way I could be achieving what I have achieved if I would have lived just a normal life, because I've not inherited anything from anyone. It's all God's doing, and it's marvelous. I see that and look back and say, God, surely you are Ebenezer. This far you brought me, and it's amazing the heights that we are scaling into, where we're heading. The future looks far much optimistic than ever, and it's all about friends, men and women that have believed in our vision, our passion, and helped us change the lives that we're changing. We've had so many testimonies of people that have been transformed because of this work. For instance, we run a feeding program, and within the feeding program, I remember one Saturday morning, I come out, it's wet and soggy, cold, and I've got a 7-year-old girl who's got her 1-year sister with her. Within that particular time, I look at that girl and ask her, why did you bring your kid sister? And this girl looks at me, she tells me, Uncle Sam, since Wednesday, we've not had anything. The last meal we had was on Wednesday, and it was just porridge. Then this is Saturday morning. My mom asked me to bring my kid sister, so that when I get my portion, I can share with my kid sister. These are some of the things that I hear, and just thank God. God, thank you, I'm doing it. And because they speak to the lives of these people, it speaks to my life. And look at the lives that we're touching and transforming, and that speaks big time. I've seen so many kids through the streets, but what's really interesting is how I got myself into doing these things. It wasn't my choice. I found myself pushed into them. Just the same way I found myself pushed into starting a church. It's always God pushing me into doing these things. Something that happened. I was walking the streets of Nakuru. There was a boy. He was a street boy. He comes running, gets a handbag out of a lady, runs towards my direction. I apprehend him, I get him, snatches the bag from him, give it back to the owner, the lady, and then I speak to this boy. Tell him, brother, you're not the first one on the streets, and if you want to die young and early, keep living this life. Before you there, I was. Before I was, my brothers were. And I remember telling him how my brother was murdered. My brother was stoned to death and buried under a rubble of stone because he murdered someone. I've had others that were burned alive, necklace, that were related with us, came from the same estate. If you want that to happen to you, keep living the kind of life you're living. And when I also shared with him my story, how I met this man Albert, and he transformed my life. And this young man looks at me and he says, help me. I didn't know what to do with that. So I just got him. I was a single boy, took him with me to my house, and it started from there. So he came, and then there was a second boy, third boy, and the numbers have now grown into 37. Now, the 37th boy, this is quite a unique case. This boy, I got him from prison. He's only 4 years old. What happened is that her mom and her husband's girlfriend got into fighting. The boy was only 2 weeks when her mother and the husband's girlfriend went into fighting. So a neighbor sees this lady who's just given birth fighting. She comes to her rescue, but she comes with a club. She's a Maasai. She hits the other lady just behind her neck, and the other lady falls. She collapses and dies. So this girl is taken in for a capital offense in the Kenyan prison, Nakuru. Now, something happens down the line because the prison officers, they appreciate, or the government appreciates what I do, and they put value into what we're doing. They call me and ask me, now, we've got this kid who's 4 years old, and he needs to find a placement because in prison, according to the setup, if a kid gets gets to age 4, he's not allowed to be in prison anymore. We've got to find some placement for him. So they called me, get this boy out of prison. So I went, got the boy out of prison, and the boy has never known life out of prison. So it's just like from bondage into freedom. And the boy is as happy as ever. His name is Eric, and he knows he's the baby in the house. And this is the kind of kids that we're trying to give them hope, brand new life, and just give them back their lives, get them to their destiny. And we're so happy with your support. We can do far much more. Thank you.